أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم
الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى وبعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار قال الله تبارك وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Injustice, oppression, these are things that are detested by human nature. Our activities to prevent injustice and oppression on earth is not only an Islamic duty, it is a duty that our human nature drives us towards. However, as Muslims, our inspiration to prevent wrong and to advocate for what is right is much more heightened because we believe as Muslims, the good that we do in this life, we will be rewarded for it in the afterlife. And the beauty of Islam is when we are asked to remove injustice, to assist the oppressed, this is not only something specific to the Muslims. We assist anyone who is oppressed regardless of faith, race, gender, background. There's no limitations to it. One of the most essential and one of the most beautiful episodes in Islamic and pre-Islamic history regarding oppression, dhulm, is known as Hilful Fudul. Hilful Fudul, the allegiance of virtues. The incident is recorded in the books of Sirah that a merchant comes from Yemen to visit Mecca. This is before the advent of Islam, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was still a young adult. And this person, he's a merchant, he comes to Mecca to sell his goods from Yemen. and he finds a businessman and they engage in this transaction. He gives his goods, but he's not given his money. And since he's a foreigner, he has no one to assist him. He has no tribe, no kinsman. There's no one there to help him in this very difficult situation. So this merchant, he goes to the leaders of Quraysh, and he says to them that this is what the people of Mecca are doing to me. What are you going to do about it? So they get together, the leaders of Quraysh, and they make a pact known as Hilf al-Fudul, that we will not stand for injustice, and we will do whatever is within our capacity to change it, even if the person is not local from Mecca, even if the person doesn't have his tribesmen to assist him. We're going to be there to assist. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was present for that pact, that agreement. Years later, after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam began his mission, and people came into the fold of Islam in droves, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would reminisce and think about that pact. And he would say that attendance of mine during that agreement was so valuable, you couldn't give me anything in exchange for it. And in fact, لو دعيت له في الإسلام لأجبت. If I was asked to attend a similar pact again, I would be there and I would participate. It speaks volumes to how we as Muslims need to view our role in society. Oftentimes, we get so insular, we get so focused about ourselves that we don't worry about those around us. Rather, a Muslim is a benefactor to society. A Muslim is a benefactor to his or her family, their neighbors, their community, their city, their country, and humanity at large. And that's the beauty of what the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum did when they went to different lands. They could confidently say, Kunu mithlana, be like us, because they lived the most beautiful of examples. When somebody was brought to the court of Ali radiallahu anhu, one was a Muslim, one was a non-Muslim. The Muslim assumed that, look, I'm a Muslim, no matter what, Ali will judge in my favor. But the oppressed was a non-Muslim, and he was a bit concerned, will I get my right? But as the court proceedings began, eventually Ali radiallahu anhu ruled in the favor of the non-Muslim, saying that truly he is oppressed. And that Muslim was so perplexed. I'm a Muslim, how dare you rule against me? He's like, no, it's not about who you are, it's not about your faith. If you've done wrong, you're going to be held accountable for that. So our approach to Islam, our role as Muslims in our societies should not be insular, should not be isolated. We do what is within our capacity to bring about change. We do what is within our ability to make it a point that people know that, subhanAllah, that person's a Muslim, he or she will do something to change the society. Umar radiallahu anhu's justice is well known. And even non-Muslims felt comfortable under his rule. Why? Because if he is the one above us, we know we are safe. What's the purpose of mentioning this? 3 points, and inshallah I'm going to conclude. One is, it goes without saying that the election cycle is in full blow. And the question comes about civic engagement. What can I do? What should I do? How should I engage? And this is a very lengthy topic that would require an entire seminar. But to make things brief, let's just remember that I have a role and responsibility to contribute change to my society. And when the avenue and the methods of doing so are easily provided, I need to ask myself, am I going to be lazy and stay away, or am I going to do something? And let me not sit back and think that, you know what, I'm just one person, what change can I bring? No, one person, if one person thinks like that, then another person will think like that. And the common example is given of the king who tells his subjects, I want everyone to pour milk into this little pool, so tomorrow morning when I come, I have a pool of milk. One person comes and says, you know what, I'm just going to put water because everybody else is putting milk. Second person says, I'm going to pour water because everyone else is pouring milk. And then like that, the king wakes up in the morning and sees a pool of water instead of milk and realizes everybody stayed away. Now, I'm not going to be preaching and telling everyone you have to do something. My purpose here is just so that I can kindle a spark in our minds to think that as my role, as someone living in this country, living in this city, living in this community, whether it's now, whether it's in the future, I need to change my mentality from one of, yeah, I'm here for some time, it really doesn't matter, I'm going to do what I need to do, I'm going to pass away, to, no, I have a responsibility that, subhanAllah, if I see injustice, I have to actively work towards removing that injustice. And if the methods of doing that is made easy for me, I need to participate. And that is why, as Muslims, we need to leave a beautiful example. Not one that, subhanAllah, these people, we don't even know who they are. We never see them. They're never there. But when something goes wrong, they're always going to be crying about it. No. We're those people, subhanAllah, we benefit society. We are the most beneficial to society. So point number one, let's try to change our attitude and mentality. Fine, even if we don't want to do anything, even if we're busy, whatever the case may be, although ideally we should be involved, at least mentally, let me make a shift, a change. That I'm not going to be someone who feels, you know what? Life is short. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me just live my life and just pass away. Inshallah, I'll get Jannah in the afterlife. Fine, fair enough. You want to think like that, but you don't realize it has ripple effects. We need to be proactive. We need to bring about change. You don't want to do something globally, fine. Let's start off locally. If I can't do locally, let me start with my own family and my neighbors, but we want to bring about positive change. And number two, and the last point I'm going to end off on, is we have a responsibility to be mindful of both the dunya and the akhirah. We don't want either extremes in our lives. We don't want to be that type of person who completely neglects all of their rights regarding this world and only fixates on the akhirah. That subhanallah, I'm going to pray tahajjud at nighttime, but I'm not going to be supporting my family. I'm not going to be there for my community. I'm going to be doing all sorts of wrong. While that is incorrect, equally, if not worse than that, is someone who doesn't even worry about the akhirah and says, you know what, subhanallah, I'm a good person, my salah, my tahajjud, it doesn't matter. No, we need that balance. Just like I am doing good acts of worship, I'm also conscious of the rights of Allah's creation. And I'm going to actively do something to make the world a better place. Even if it may not be a better place for me, at least for the generation to come, because at least they'll make dua for me. So in conclusion, as Muslims, we have a responsibility to make change. And that change starts within myself, then my family, then my community, then my city, then my country, and then humanity at large. But even if I can't do something, at least let me mentally be aware that I have a duty as a Muslim living in this country, a country from which I am benefiting. Yes, I may have my disagreements, I may have things that infuriates me, frustrates me, but instead of just complaining and not doing something, I will actively do something to make a change in whatever capacity comfortable for me. And number two, as Muslims, we don't stand for injustice. We make a change, and we change that within the confines of the Sharia, within the limitations of Islam, what is known as sacred activism. We need to do something to bring about positive change. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assist us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire us to do good. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the change we want to see in others. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا فيا فوز المستغفرين. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وأتباعه أجمعين. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الله في أصحابي لا تتخذوهم غرضا من بعدي فمن أحبهم فبحبي أحبهم ومن أبغضهم فببغضي أبغضهم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر من نصر الدين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم أجرنا من النار، اللهم أجرنا من النار، اللهم أجرنا من النار. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا. اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان. آمين يا رب العالمين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. يا معشر المسلمين أقيموا الصلاة وسووا صفوفكم.
Remind people exit from all the sides.
Okay.
From there too.
Okay. Should I do it now or after Salah?
أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله. استغفر الله. When exiting, brothers are requested to use all exits and not cram into one particular exit. Jazakumullah khairan. There are 3 exits. Please use all of the exits to leave. Brothers are requested to generously donate to the masjid through which we're able to effectively function the masjid. Jazakumullah khairan.